Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope everybody is well. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I can see from the chat a few of you had some nice parcels arriving over the weekend, things like Blood Bowl and an Armada from Mantic, so I'm sure you've all got plenty of new things to be working on. But we'll have a look in the chat and see who we've got tonight. Nice and early we had Arnold de Guns, a big fan of Warcry, no doubt. I'm sure he'll be back later on as well. Peter Koeman was in as well. ASDF, good evening to you, gents. Jacob was in as well. Said he just arrived early to drop off a like. Thank you very much, Jacob. Marcus was in as well. Lord Maiden, Mark Wright. Hello to you, folks. Mark saying thanks for the mug, mate. You are welcome. I know that a lot of the Patreon mugs are starting to arrive now, so it's nice to see those out in the wild. Ortega was in as well, saying interesting topic. See you in the rerun. Nice to see you, mate. What was that? Something just flashed up on my screen there. That was Red Rose Wargaming just donated. Thank you very much. Did someone mention Warcry? Nice to see you, Anna. How are you doing? Christopher Warden says, I was here about 8 hours ago. No one else was about. I think you peaked a bit early, mate, didn't you? We got Ian in as well. Christian, nice to see you, mate. Busey's in as well. Peter Nicholas saying there's books now. I only just got the last bit of Ruddy Terrain this month. There's been books for a little while, mate, but we are up to 9 books now. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yoakum's in as well. It says, hello, folks. You might have to buy a few of these books. Don't have to, just want to. That's the thing, mate. Everything's optional. Palmsy's in as well, saying good evening all. Still need to get the new starter set. Somehow I don't need to worry about the books. Yeah, we'll touch on that too, mate. John Estel says evening all, just painting some Armada ships. I'm glad to see your stuff's arrived, mate. CXG says good evening everyone. Hope you're all doing great and had a great week. Love the look of these new books. Intrigued to see what's in them. So I'll obviously be taking a look and delving a little bit deeper into what we know from what GW have told us about these books. There was also some leaks about the Alliance books a while ago, and very quickly all the information was taken down. Luckily, I got to see that information when it leaked, so I have seen a lot of what's in these Alliance books, so I'll be able to talk a little bit more with some confidence about what I've seen, what I know is in those books as well. And then we'll have a chat overall about what does it mean for Warcry. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Arnold just donated there as well. What was that one? Let's have a quick look at that. It says, let's all shout for Warcry. It's a Giants game. You all know I love Warcry, which means that whatever I say is my honest opinion, basically. Whether I like it or don't like it, they decide there. Rui saying good evening to everyone. Good evening, Rui. Barry Kleiber saying, how about those Bears? Yeah, I think they had about as much luck as the Rams this weekend, mate. Glenn saying good evening to the Blackjackers as well. David Mackay's in. Barry saying he got his pre-order Armada box and his Blood Bowl Season 2. What a weekend. You're telling me, mate. There's your next few months taken up. Tasty Brain Drain's in. Hello to you. Jim Zorm's in saying good evening and heo. Nice to see you. Lord Technopants, nice to see you in, fella. Nice to see you, mate. He says bonjour. Got the decks down from the loft. His back may never recover. All I need now is a big pile of new Warcry books delivered and I'm crippled for life. Yeah, it's a shame they've all come in one lump, and that's part of the chat, I think, tonight. Stu McMurtry's in as well. Nice to see you, mate. Greg Cherry says, every Catacombs game I've seen wasn't very interesting. They needed to go harder on the dungeon elements. People rarely use the doors, and occasionally someone falls in the lava. I think that's more to do with probably the way people are playing, mate, to be fair. I mean, I've read through the rules, obviously not getting the chance to play games at the minute, and I'm quite happy and quite interested about the rules. I think what you probably find is people are still getting their head around them, and there's a lot of extra stuff like things like wall running and being able to go through walls and stuff like that with certain factions. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, but I think people are probably playing it like regular Warcry when there's a bit more to it. Ryan's in as well. Hello to you. Hello to Tony Howell as well. He says, evening, you horrible lot. And Dave Dog is in as well. Arnold says it's been way too long. I thought Warcry might bring you back, mate. Josh Price says, good evening. He's watching it on the TV with the wife tonight. Hello, Mrs. Price as well. Hope you're well. Hope Josh is treating you well. Hope he's made you a nice cup of tea, a little bit of snacks and that for the TV tonight. Jacob says, he's a nice way to cap off a Monday at work. Lush, mate, lush. John Kellogg's in watching at work. Jimmy Mosco's in from Texas. Hello, mate. How you doing? We've got the Harrow in as well. Red Rose Wargaming, thank you very much for your donation tonight, and I hope you're doing well as well. I know you've been really busy, Anna, with your new role and stuff. So I hope you're having a bit of a chilled night tonight. Coxie's in as well. Says debating trading some painting time in favour of playing some more core space. It feels like a game I've been looking for. I saw your comment, mate, about how you'd kind of been put off a little bit about the setup time, but once you'd got it set up, it was great. It's a great game. It's one of those underrated ones, I think, and especially seems you can play it solo. So even like current climate and all that kind of stuff, it's good to see kind of things getting to the table. Frantic's in as well. Hello. Harrow's also from Texas. We've got all the Texans in tonight. Where was that one up to? David Moffat saying hello to the BlackJackerinos. Tony says, we're discussing the merits of dodgy old £5 dining chair from the charity shop to improve your painting or make you care less. I'll tell you what, mate. I did a video a while ago about, like, is the hobby kind of hurting is it bad for my health? About, like, how I sit around and I didn't exercise so much and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I discussed, actually, was a comfy chair. Like, sitting at a dining table chair for long periods of time is not what they're designed for, and you will end up with pains and cramps and all that kind of stuff. If you're going to sit for long periods of time, I'd recommend kind of, it doesn't have to be brand new, but a proper kind of office chair type thing, or certainly something with a bit more back support. The board is saying there the price of the books is ridiculous. Individually, I don't think they're too bad personally, and we'll come on to pricing and stuff in a bit. But the fact that 5 of them have dropped in one weekend, it's not great, is it? Peter Max just popped in to say hi. Hello, mate. Good. Happy birthday to you as well, mate. I almost forgot there. Yes, happy birthday, mate. I hope you have a good one. Jackson as well from Shaggy Wargaming. Tim's in as well. Says, hope you're all good. Painting more Death Guard. Looks like Death Guard's getting a little bit of an upgrade soon, mate. 2 wounds, I think I saw today. Tony Buvladen said, evening all, very interested to see what these books are all about. Just starting out in Warcry seems to be a good time to jump in. I'll come on to it when I start the main topic and stuff, mate, but from my side of things, regardless of kind of what I think of the books or the fact that they're all coming at once and it's a lot of money to kind of put out and all that kind of stuff, I'm really happy that they're continuing to support Warcry. And so I have to kind of balance all of these things out, but it's fantastic to see it's been supported. VJ's in as well. Good morning, VJ, all the way from Australia. CXG says, I completely missed the leaks. Can't wait for you to spill the beans. You might not be as excited when you hear, mate, to be fair. Scroll down. Dave's saying, when are the Warcry books coming out? They go up for pre-order this weekend, mate, and they're available the week after, unless you're in the US, and I think there's an extra week delay on the books. Glenn says, on the one hand, I feel like it's all released in one go, but a good bit of this year had no releases for the game. Yeah, I think there's definitely some delay issues that's caused this all to come at once, I think. And I'll kind of touch on why I think some of that is as well. Derek Hodge, hello again to you, mate. Jasper Potts in as well, says, curious if the fighter cards are still relevant with these books coming out. I will touch on that in a second, mate. Peter Kuhlman was there, and then his chat disappeared at the top of my screen. Says, not buying any Warcry, I just bought 2 new bolt action armies for early war. Belgians and Blitzkrieg Germans. Andrew Fairbanks is saying, don't worry, is that nice to see you, mate. Marcus is saying he's built his Raprix from Warcry. I think he's going to be calling them Danger Chickens. Do you know what? I obviously got those the beasts in the original core Warcry set. I have never played a game with them. Never. In all the time I've been playing Warcry, and I've played lots of games of Warcry, never used them. Never used them once. Krabby says, evening team. Dominic's in as well. Knew you behave a Warcry, mate. Corvus Corax as well. Not, what did I say? Corvus Kebab when I was talking about Corvus Cabal last week, I think it was. Hello, Corvus Corax. Says, good evening, just joined. 2 questions. How much heresy have I missed? And secondly, why do I need these new Warcry books? 2 good questions. You've missed nothing, mate. And when I start the chat in a little bit of the main topic, you'll know all about them books. Low Baden saying, it's because the chair I use, I leant to the right and broke the bottom, so the lifting metal contacts my arse and it hurts. Definitely in that case, mate. Or at least put a big cushion on it. Zingbo saying, hello from Edinburgh. What are the prices of the new Warcry books? I'll come on to that very soon, mate. Krabby says, damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they miss out factions, people boot off. It's not quite as simple as that, mate. I mean, it's a skirmish game. It's a game where your warband has about 10, 15 models. there's a lot of books for a game where you have 10 or 15 models. Is kind of my point, I think. Honestly, they won't go out of print like real fast. Get the one you use the most, get the others when you can. We'll come on to that one as well. And everybody's kind of dumping into them as well. People say, I can see the point of dropping all the Grand Alliance Warcry books at once. I get that, mate. I always thought that they would come at once, but dropping the same weekend as Tome of Champions, I think, is more to do with the delays. Everybody having a bit of a chat. Beauty saying if you like books, it's a good thing. Yep, if you can't play games, you just want something to read, next month is going to be perfect. CXG says, either way, it's all good. Good contents equals win for the game. Bad contents equals win for my wallet. Exactly, mate. Who else we got? Clint Dawson, hello. He says, at this point, I'm waiting until all the books are out before deciding if I need them. It's probably not a bad thing, mate. Give certainly the weekend that they go up for pre-order next weekend. They'll have been sent out to the usual people who get their stuff early, so you'll be able to see what's in them books. And I can't see, fingers crossed, I can't see these ones selling out on day one like they normally do. Scott Latham, good evening. Nice to see you, Scott. Right. I think what we'll do is we've got a nice little crowd in now. I think if I can press all the right buttons, we'll make a start on tonight's main topic. So tonight, the main topic is I'm talking about Warcry, and this weekend sees the pre-orders go live for 5 new Warcry books, which for me is a bit, it's madness. There's a lot of stuff coming. That will take all of the Warcry books up to a total of 9. And for a skirmish game or a kind of like a small model count game where you're essentially pushing around between 10 and 15 models, 9 different books is quite a lot to take in, and especially if you're a new player, understanding what each of those books do and which ones do I need, which ones do I not need, is probably going to be a bit confusing at first. So we'll talk a little bit about the books first of all. So what we had up until recently was we had these 3 main books. You can see in the center there is the core book. Everybody needs this book, essentially. So if you're just wanting to dip your toe in and try to play the game, this has the main core rules in it. So everybody who plays Warcry will generally have this book. I'm sure there'll be some people who share a book with a friend or whatever, but 99% of players of Warcry will need or will use this book. After that, very quickly behind that being released, we had the Monsters and Mercenaries book. And I bought that one up. So, yeah, I've got my books here as well. So we've got a core rule book. We've got that one. I then bought this one in PDF, and essentially what was in this one was the ability to bring in some kind of like hero type models that were available in AOS to boost your warbands to come in as like as a mercenary, as an ally to your warbands. Also, what was in this book was the addition of monsters which you could fight against within your games. You could team up and fight against these monsters. You could have them kind of roaming wild within a battle. You could even at one point sort of bring them in to fight as part of your warband as well. This was all kind of narrative stuff. It wasn't the matched play stuff. It wasn't competitive play type stuff. It was all just about having some fun stories. Also in that book was a few extra kind of missions and special sort of, what do they call them again, quests. And then at the end of last year, we had the Tome of Champions 2019. This was the first time that we had this kind of like this compendium. And what this did was it did a few things. I've got the book here. It's still quite a meaty tome, as they say. And in this book we had some open play missions and stuff. We had some narrative play stuff. There was some more fated quests. So these are the quests that you go on with your different warbands. They had some things called challenge battles, which was again like another way to play the game. Things like roaming beasts. There was all the background tables for all of the Warcry teams or factions that were available at that time. There was some match play stuff that I think was designed for the matched. They were like the kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The like the scenarios and stuff for competitive play for that season. And then included in the back as well was all of the cards for the war bands that had cards released that year. So things like Iron Jaws, things like Idoneth Deepkin, all those kind of things. They were all in that book. So when all of the cards got sold out, or certainly some of the factions' cards got sold out, you could at least play those factions with the details in the back of there. So that was what we had up until the end of 2019. Next up, very, very recently, so we had nothing pretty much from the end of 2019 right the way through until September, I think it was now. We had Warcry Catacombs. This book is only available if you buy the Warcry Catacombs set. That is this one here. It is much thinner in comparison. It doesn't have the core rules in. The core rules came in that Catacombs set again. But this does have extra rules to basically to play events in the catacombs, in the dungeons, around the pits and stuff like that, the pits of lava and things. As has been mentioned, the back of this book does not have a barcode. The book doesn't have an ISBN code. It looks like this book won't be available separately. It's only available if you buy the Catacombs box. I've lost my train of thought there. Yes, only available in the Catacombs box. Then what we've just had announced this weekend is we have these Alliance books, the Grand Alliance books. There is one called Sentinels of, if I get the names up in front of me here, there is one called Sentinels of Order, there is Harbingers of Destruction, Bringers of Death, and Agents of Chaos. And in these books will be all of the stats for all of the different factions and models that are in Warcry now. And I say that because there's some new stuff being added to Warcry that will be in these books. So they probably, at this point in time, there's no talk about bringing in kind of like card packs for all of this stuff. It'll all be in these books. Now, if I switch across to, just get that one lined up. to hear. So essentially, what I think these are books that you do not need to buy. They are optional. I'm kind of caught in that weird middle ground where I've got at least one faction from each one of those 4 books. I'm personally probably not going to pick these up on day one. And the reason is one, I ain't playing any games at the minute. I don't feel the need to rush out and buy them. I'll probably hang on a bit and sort of find out a bit more information. So I don't think that I really need all of that extra stuff right now. It will give me extra options to add to the stuff I've got. It'll give me some extra quests and bits and pieces like that. But the way I've played Warcry over the last kind of year and a half, is essentially I've just enjoyed playing it for a bit of fun with friends. And I've not really gone deep into some of those quests and all of that different bits and pieces. I've just enjoyed playing it as a casual game. So for me, it's not an instant buy. I think if I'd been playing games, I might feel differently about it. But I would say they're definitely optional. They will get people who are crying out for some extra ability to add new models to their warband, to be able to kind of list build a little bit more granular as well. I think they're going to be great. They're not a fortune individually, but as I said before, if you're going to buy the Tome of Champions and those 4 books, you're looking to shell out £90 in the UK, and obviously the equivalents, or when I say the equivalents, the GW equivalents elsewhere around the world. So, as I said before, I think that the Tome of Champions coming at the same time, I think that's probably more down to some delays throughout the year, I think, as opposed to the intention being all of them releasing at the same weekend. So, as I said before, releasing the same weekend, we do have the Tome of Champions 2020. Now, obviously, Tome of Champions 2019, I told you what was in that one. The updated card packs and all of that stuff, which was great when people couldn't get the details to play Iron Jaws or something, or they couldn't get their hands on the cards for certain factions. That was a great way to get the information. Now, if all of that information is now in the Alliance books, do we really need a Tome of Champions? What's in that? So, if we go back over to here. I didn't turn my light on behind me. I've just remembered now. I'm not going to do it halfway through this video. So how do I feel about it? All of the books releasing in one go, I ain't overly happy about. I would have liked to have seen the 4 kind of Alliance books come out at some point, and the 2020 book come out separately a little bit, just to kind of break that up. It's a lot to kind of all purchase in one go if you're one of those people that feel I need to have everything. What I would say for anybody brand new to Warcry or considering Warcry, these books are all optional. There is nothing in these books that you have to have. As long as you've got the core book and you look online where you'll see that some FAQs and things, it doesn't look like all of the cards that you've got are going to be outdated. There may be a few tweaks to bits of wording. There may be some updates, like the errata that's online might be kind of corrected in those books and things. There might be the odd tweak, like I said, the Hangman's Knot for Idneth Deepkin. There might be a few tweaks. But on the grand scheme of things, if you just play casual games, you're not really going to be worried about those books and stuff. Yes, there's going to be some new narrative stuff in there. There's going to be some really good quests in there, I've got no doubt. There's going to be some interesting stuff just to kind of to mix your games up. I like the idea of bringing in all of the White Dwarf stuff into one place and putting them into 2020 Tome of Champions. I like the idea of this sort of ganging up against monsters and things. So for me, I think the 2020 Tome of Champions is a really good purchase for £20, and for discounts with your local retailers. There'll be links down in the description of this video where you can see one which kind of helps me out in the channel with an affiliate link. I think that's probably not a bad purchase, and especially if we can do that kind of that teaming up thing, which allows us to make it as a bit of a solo campaign type thing. But the Alliance books, I'm personally not in any mega rush. I think I'll have a look online. I'll see them all get shared out to the folks who get them early, and then after that, I'll probably pick and choose. Like I say, I've got warbands split across all the different factions, so I'd essentially have to buy all 4, and I don't really fancy spending £70 on books right now for the game. I'm not getting to play it, unfortunately. So, what do you think? I'm going to go back now and chat to the live stream, but if you're watching this on the Tuesday Eclipse video, let me know down in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. So, folks, let me go back to here. Let me flick this light on as well. I didn't plug it in, that's why. There we go, the battery kicked off. I forgot to plug in the power cable. So let me go back to my chat here and have a look. There was a donation I saw come in during the chat there. Mark Coxey, no sound when you switch screens. Thank you very much, mate. Do you know what it is? I checked it, and I'm sure there was sound on all of the screens. I'm sure. Ah, well, not to worry, mate. Oh, well. I'm going to flick through them so I can see which one had no sound on now, so I can double check. Which one was it? So we had... microphones going on that one as well. Microphones going on that one. Microphones going on that one. Microphones going on that one as well. I definitely checked them all. Oh, well. It is what it is. There was no sound. Says, call you because you were mute. I can see them all now. Oh, well. I tell you what. It was on the screen capture OBS screen, mate. No sound on the GW site one. Let me go back to that. I have no idea. I have no idea why I did that. It's showing like it's working on mine, but yeah, not to worry. Right. So, what was I talking about then? I might as well just. I don't even know how to fix it because it looks like it's working. Oh, hang on a second. Let me quickly go to here. You hear me now, folks? Yeah, you can, can't you? All of that for nothing. Shit. So was it only that one screen, folks? Was it? Was it just that one? Because it should be working now, isn't it? Yeah, just that one screen. Hang on then. Where were we at? Bollocks. Right, okay. Yeah, I think it was muted in the background. Right, I tell you what. I'll talk about the prices again. Right, so I tell you what, if I go back to here and I'll show you this one again, and I'll very quickly go. I won't go through the whole thing, but right, I'm sure you can hear me now, can't you? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me now. Somebody, yeah, I'm sure you probably all can now. I'm good that was the case. It's a tiny little eyeball with a line through it. Yes, let me just bring the chat up and make sure. Yes, that's the one. I'm not. Lucian, go through the entire thing again. Do you folks want me to go through? Let me know if you want me to go through the entire thing again, because I will do. I will go through it. Yeah, everyone's saying you can hear us now. Yes. Let me know if you want me to go through it. Thank you, Christian. Yes. Right. I tell you what then. Right. Let me go through. Right, and I'll try and patch this stuff in. Yes. So this was released on Sunday night, and these are the four Grand Alliance books. So we've got Agents of Chaos, we've got Bringers of Death, we've got Harbingers of Destruction, Sentinels of Order. I don't know which bit you heard and which bit you didn't, so I apologise now. But there's enough people, and I'm sure you want to hear it. And it says here that basically each includes a comprehensive list of leaders, fighters, and monsters available for the various factions that make up the Grand Alliances. So my assumption on that is that basically what I think we'll get is we'll see the monsters from Monsters and Mercenaries coming across to the different faction books. I wasn't sure if we'd see them in Tome of Champions or not, but it looks like we're going to see them in here. And what's also included in this, and what I saw in the leaks, was that basically that there are a lot more leaders that have been added to the different factions. So where you had where you had maybe the option of one leader or two leaders in particular factions or particular war bands before, there's going to be a lot more options. And there's also a few extra fighters as well, some stuff that wasn't included originally. That said, what I went through all of the leaked stuff and compared it against the current stuff, so the cards and the books and things, and there doesn't appear to be any changes to stats, to points costs, or abilities for all of the stuff that I saw. And I probably saw in the leak about 7 or 8, maybe 10 different war bands. I would have thought that if there was going to be any stat upgrades, at least one of those models would have been different, but I didn't see any changes at all. The only thing I could find was on Ideneth Deepkin, there is a leader special ability that was in the Monsters and Mercenaries book, and essentially in Monsters and Mercenaries it said something like it automatically hit basically if you get a triple or whatever it is, it automatically hits. In these new books, it said that on a 3+ it went off, so it's been tweaked slightly, but I could not find any stat changes at all. So if you're hoping that the game's getting a rebalance, I'm not saying that it's not, but certainly from the evidence that I've seen, from the amount of leaks that I saw, which is quite significant, there's no changes, there's no rebalancing of the stuff. It also says that there's basically thematic background tables for each warband. The background tables, as I mentioned in silence, on the back of the Catacombs book, it's the stuff where you roll a d10 for the first name, roll a d10 for the last name, your origins and kind of background information. It's nice to have, but it's not kind of like necessary or anything like that. And basically there'll be some artifacts and stuff to use, which we've seen in some of the other abilities and things. The price of the books, that was one of the things that I did mention here. They're different prices for the different books, which obviously tells you the amount of information that's in each of those books. So the Sentinels of Order and the Agents of Chaos books are £20 each. There's obviously for Chaos, which has all of the original Warcry stuff in it. And Order, there's a lot of factions for Order. Those books must have more information in them. They're £20 each. The Destruction one and the Death books are £15 each. So there's obviously a bit less in them. So if you're wanting to buy all four, they're going to cost you £70 UK prices. I don't have the European pricing or the US or Australia price at the moment, but certainly that's the case. I also noticed as well on the information I get now is that it has country of origin where it's been manufactured, and all of these books have come from China, which is one of the reasons why I think there might have been some delays to these. Also coming out is we can see here that there is the dice for the different factions. It shows 3 here. There is a price that I've got for each of the different factions. So there is definitely there's dice for Chaos, dice for Death, dice for Destruction, and is there not dice for Order? Yes. Oh yeah, Order dice, Destruction dice, Death dice, and Chaos dice. Yeah, so there's definitely the 4 different factions, even though it only shows 3 here, and they are £16 per set. It also showed here that basically we're getting the opportunity to pre-order the K-Knight Shadow Stalkers and the Scions of the Flame. These are the 2 warbands that came in the Catacombs book. Catacombs box, I should say. The Shadow Stalkers are 30... If I can find them now. Where are they? Shadow Stalkers are £32.50 in the UK. So kind of midway between the £28, £30 warbands that we'd seen previously and the more expensive ones. I think the last batch we saw were £35 for like Skaven or something, and £40 I think it was for the Caradron Overlords, I think it was. So they're kind of mid-priced. Legions of Nagash and Sylvaneth are a couple of kind of new boxes that we haven't had before. The Legions of Nagash are priced at £36, so slightly more expensive, but low point models for the skeletons. So we get more skeletons in the box. You can field more skeletons, slightly more expensive. The Sylvaneth one was a bit of a surprise to me. The Sylvaneth one is £45. So this is the most expensive of the warbands. And I think, looking at the box there, I think we've got some Kurnoth Hunters in there, and I think that's what's bumping the price of that up a little bit. Because it only looks like we've got maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 models in there. The price of the Kurnoth Hunters is probably bumping that up a little bit. So yeah, so these are all available to pre-order this coming Saturday. And then I talked about Tome of Champions as well. This is the Tome of Champions 2020, and it's saying that basically there's new rules for open narrative match play. It says it's 112 pages. Let's have a look and see what was in last year's. There was 128 in last year's, so similar size. New rules for open narrative match play, including multiplayer pit fights, new fated quests and challenge battles, as well as a sprawling narrative campaign, I should say. There's a slight delay on this one coming to North America, so we can pre-order it in the UK this Saturday, which will be, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I think it's the 5th of December. The 12th of December is when this is up for pre-order in the US. So again, I think there's some kind of delay on these ones. Now, what it also said was, on the other one, there was a bit more information about them. And when I read through this, it says that there's a total of 39 different warbands between them, divided into grand alliances. So that is a lot of different warband options for this game. That's fantastic for anybody just getting into this game. You can pretty much choose whatever you like when it comes to factions. I'm 99.9% sure that every single faction from AOS is now represented in Warcry. Right through Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Cities of Sigmar, Fire Slayers, all of the stuff that's been in the White Dwarf only stuff as well are all in these books, split up by Alliance. It says each table has background tables, fated quests and challenge battles. That's for the books and stuff. The Tome of Champions, it says that basically it's got a rules update. Now, as I said before, it doesn't look like there's any balancing included. This is just like rules updates, which is probably things like the errata is maybe kind of amalgamated in here a little bit. A rebalancing of glory point system as well, which is interesting, and some updates to reinforcements and the use of consumable items. They're expanding the rules for open player, which is things like Triumph and Treachery pit fights and multiplayer games. Now, I think that all of that stuff has been in White Dwarf over the last 12 months. I'm a subscriber to White Dwarf, so I've seen all the Warcry stuff coming through it each month, or the month that it's been in there. I think that this is just kind of gathering it back into Warcry. Into one of the Warcry books. They expand the rules for narrative play, so there's some background stuff. It says fated quests there with a little asterisk, and if you read below, it says that some of the fated quests are Catacombs quests as well. So if you've bought Warcry Catacombs, there's some extra quest stuff in here. And it says there's expanded rules for match play as well, which is essentially, if we look in Tome of Champions 2019, in the back of here, if I can find it, there was these things, which were the pitch battles that we used for kind of official tournaments and stuff. There's 6 more basically in the 2020 book, which will be used for the 2020-2021 match play season, if you like. Now it also says, which is really interesting, we can see the Gargan here, which is obviously one of the expensive things that GW want to sell more of. What better way than to bring it across into Warcry? And it says, believe it or not, that's not all. For example, we didn't even mention how you'll be able to join forces with a rival to take on terrifying monstrous foe such as a Mega Gargant. Now, what actually gets me quite interested for this bit is the fact that you can join up with a rival to fight against monstrous creatures like Gargants. Now, that to me says that it's co-op, which means you can probably play this as a single player thing as well, unless it's expecting a third player to control the monstrous creature. If there's rules in this that allow us to play that, like 2 players against an AI controlled monster, that would be enough for me to buy the Tome of Champions on its own. To be fair, I would like that. And as I mentioned, I'm sure you heard this bit before, but I think for me personally, the Tome of Champions is probably something I'll pick up. It sounds like there's enough in there to make it worthwhile for me. The Alliance books, I think I'm going to kind of hold off and see where I get to with those. So I apologise, folks, for the technical issues, but that was essentially what I said. I'm sure I missed some bits out. And we're just going to dive in and have a look here. I think I'm kind of catching up. Carrie's saying, how does it differ from Tome of Champions? Essentially, it's just going to be updated stuff. So in Tome of Champions, in the 2019 version, we had the cards at the back. So things like Gloomspike Gates, we had things like Legions of Nagash, Bone Splitters. We had Iron Jaws as well. So if you remember, the Iron Jaws cards all sold out. You couldn't buy them. But if you picked up the Tome of Champions 2019, all of the information that you needed was in there. I don't think that information is going to be in the 2020 version because it's all going to be in the Alliance books. There's no way they're going to just kind of double that information up, if you like. So it sounds like it's extra quests. It's kind of tweaks on the rules, give you extra ways to play. There's going to be an amalgamation of some of the Warcry stuff, the White Dwarf stuff, I think, as well. So it sounds like it's going to be in there. Let's have a little look. Krabby saying it's going to be a late one. We're back on track now, mate. DRC Fungus is saying quad. I'm not sure what the quad means, mate. Yeah, unless it's on a quad. Maybe that's the one for the Hangman's. Not maybe that's what we're talking about. Carrie said, I think Jacob Bug Manson is in Tome of Champions. I read reference to it in White Dwarf. Is Jacob Bug Manson? I'm not sure. Is that the card that came with White Dwarf just in this last month? Marcus says, the only thing I have for my Flesh Eater courts that could add to Warcry is an Abhorrent, Egregion, and a Vargulf. I'm trying to remember that. I think Flesh Eater courts were one of the things that was leaked. I wouldn't care. I took some screenshots and I've got them on my other computer. So I'll dig some out and I'll share them in our Patreon group. Lord Technopan says, if they change the stats, I'd be sticking to my cards anyway. It's kind of where I am, mate. What I was saying before, I tend to just play casual games. I've not played a lot of the big campaigns or the missions and stuff, the quests. So that's another reason why I don't feel the need to kind of instantly go out and buy this stuff. But yeah, I think I'd kind of be in a similar boat, mate. I'd probably just play with what I have as well. There are a lot of people that are really kind of sort of clamouring for this to be balanced a bit more. And unfortunately, that looks like that's not going to be the case. Yeah, DRC Fungus, you get the card in the White Dwarf. Yeah, I've got that one, mate. And DFC in 15 or to 12 quid. Yeah, so you're probably talking 20% off these things. So what's that like? Yeah, 16 quid for the 20 quid books. And what's that? 3 quid, 12 quid for the other ones. Carrie saying I won Fire Slayers. I missed the White Dwarf. Yeah, Fire Slayers are in there, and there's some additional stuff. Fire Slayers were one of the ones that were leaked, and I have all of those details as well with all the different models that are in there. I think it's essentially just some extra leader models, I think. Captain Dodge says, which book has Nurgle in it, please? I'm sure Nurgle is in the Chaos books. Glenn says, I prefer the dice in the starter set. I quite like the starter set dice, to be fair, mate. I think they just look really nice. These ones, whilst they're nice maybe like Christmas present type things, but they're not like a must-have, if you like. What was I saying? Yeah, Shadow Stalkers, DRC says 60 US. They're guaranteed to sell out the Shadow Stalkers. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, actually. I love those Shadow Stalker models. I mean, they're £32.50 is not too bad. It's kind of middle of the road for those. It was one of the reasons I bought the Catacomb set. I really do like those models. Tony said, it's good news. It was waiting for the K-Knight lot to be released. I'm surprised they've come out so quick, mate, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were always planned to come out now, but Catacombs was meant to come out quite some time ago. Lord Maiden saying, yeah, Kurnoth Hunters are 3 for 35 quid. That's why I think the price is more expensive, mate. I think that's what's pushing it up. Matt Mailing, good evening, says, greetings, brother. Jasper says, £15 is €21, £20 is €25. If Jasper, if you're just doing a direct comparison, like with an exchange rate thing, they're never like that, mate. I'll actually be able to. Let me just make sure that I haven't got it up on my screen. I'll be able to get the euro prices for you while we're sitting here. So I'll work through those and get them in a second. And let me find the page where I want to be. Oops, just skip there. Let me go to here. Let me change this to make sure I get the right country information. Let's use that one. I appreciate this is good radio, but at least I'm getting you as we go. I'm getting you live. I'm getting you live information. So let's have a look at this. Right. So what I've got then, I've got the Grand Alliance dice will be €25. We've got the Scions of the Flame will be €42.50. The Tome of Champions will be €25. The Order books obviously €25 as well. Chaos books €25. The Death book is €20, the same as the Destruction one. Shadow Stalkers $42.50. Legions of Nagash €47.50, and Sylvaneth are €60. So I don't know if that lines up with what you were just telling me there, mate. Yeah, but that's what they are, mate. That's what they'll be. Where did that just skip ahead there? The Harrow is saying the game needs a bit of help. I was hoping they would do some rebalancing, especially since they want people to drop money on 5 new books. I mean, they've added some extra models to the list, so there are options to bring new models. Obviously, they've not been out before, so maybe there's a little bit of balancing in those. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying for 100% that they're not balanced, that they haven't been rebalanced, but certainly from what I saw Iron Jaws, I saw Bone Splitters, I saw Legions of Nagash, I saw, what was the other ones? I saw Fire Slayers, I saw a few more as well, and certainly when I went through all of those, I saw Ideneth Deepkin. When I went through those, there was no point changes at all. No point changes. Christian sharing the links tonight. Thank you very much, mate. DRC Fungus, I like the Monsters and Mercs book. Yeah, it's a nice book. I like the idea. when it first came out, I liked the idea they were bringing monsters and kind of allies into it. And I still think that was a good addition. Lord Benson, thanks for seeing us again. Oh, don't worry, mate. My fault. It's literally because the screen is so far away. There's a tiny little eyeball, basically, that had a line through it, which was basically saying that it was muted. Although I could see the sound thing moving on the microphone, it was muted for you lot. So I apologise. Thank you all for sticking around and not disappearing. I can see from the little graph of how many people are watching, it didn't suddenly fall off a cliff. So I thank you very much for hanging around, folks. You are all welcome, folks. Not a problem. We're just missing you, Champion Andy. What a professional. Thanks for the recap. There was a time when I used to get proper flustered about technical glitches, but these days, there's always a reason for it. It's always just I haven't pressed a button or something like that. Pomsy saying, I found the no sound version more relaxing. I bet you did, mate. Rui Louise says, co-op rules with the potential for solo rules. Great news. That the way I read it, it says that you can team up with a rival to fight monsters. Now, unless that is a 3-player game where 2 of you are teaming up against a third player who has a monster, or whether that is an AI-controlled monster with 2 of you teaming up. If that's the case, then rather than 2 of you teaming up, you just play 2 warbands and play against kind of a monstrous creature. That sounds really interesting to me. I'm 99% going to pre-order this. For the sake of £20, it'll be £16 if I buy it from Goblin Gaming through my affiliate link, folks. £16, not too bad. It's probably the kind of thing I can say, put it on my Christmas list or something like that. 16 quid's not too bad. But if it's got some solo stuff in there, like not really solo, but some co-op stuff in there, it's worth it for that alone for me personally. I am not playing any games at the minute, really. It's driving me insane. There's no sign of that changing anytime soon. So yeah, anything that I love Warcry, I love Warcry. If I can play that solo without having to try and sort of work with some fan-made stuff, I'm quite happy with that. Tracy Brindren says, yeah, probably way too much chat to catch up tonight, but you should definitely go back and review it later on. Yeah, I will do. If anybody has any specific questions, if I haven't answered your question from before, please just type at BlackJack Legacy and ask me the question again, and I will catch up as well. I also want to go back. There was a couple of people donated as well to try and get my attention. Thank you so much. Andrew Fairbanks and I think the other one's gone off the top of the screen now. I don't know who the other one was. Arnold as well. Was it Arnold? Oh, it was Andrew. Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it. Sorry I didn't see it. I had that stuff kind of hidden in the background when I was doing that. Sorry about that, mate. Harrow says, good way to get donations. Very cheeky. It certainly wasn't, mate. It certainly wasn't intended that way. Where are we on? I think we're talking about Kenneth Hunters there. Right, I think that's where we're up to. DRC Fungus says, how about the other maps? What other maps, mate? Let me have a look and see what you mean. I think there is some kind of map stuff in it. Do you mean like these kind of stuff where it's going through the convergences and stuff? Or do you mean something completely different? I'm not entirely sure what you mean, mate. Scroll on these bits. DRC saying that, there we were. Scott's saying, I think we'll be looking at Tome of Champions, Destruction and Chaos books. Yeah, like I say, I just don't fancy dropping 70 quid on 4 books that I'll probably not use for quite some time. DRC saying the carding is in White Dwarf. Yeah, that's the one we were talking about, yeah. Jasper says, faction books, £20 for Order and Chaos, £15 for Death and Destruction. And what was the price of Tome of Champions? Yes, it's also 20 quid, mate. £20. DRC says the books will be 40 in the US. Yeah, I would imagine they'll be around that price, mate, yeah. Foible saying Grand Alliance books are great for anyone who's just jumped onto Warcry with Catacombs if you assume that they haven't bought other publications yet. I'm not 100% convinced that's definitely the way to go, mate. I think if you've just jumped in with Warcry Catacombs and you'll have the core book, you'll have the Catacombs book, if you're going to buy just some new extra factions to play, just pick up some of the Warcry faction boxes. They'll have the cards in for the models that's inside. And I think if you're expanding the game maybe down the line, those Alliance books. I think the Alliance books are a better bet for folks who play AOS and have quite big collections of models, but don't want to have to rebuy the cards, if you like. They don't want to rebuy the models to get the cards. I think it's a good way. It's kind of twofold. It's a good way to get AOS players playing Warcry with models they already have, and it's probably also a good way to get Warcry players to buy more models to get to a point where you go, well, I've got this many, I might as well give AOS a try. And it's bringing them two options in between the two. Now, I criticised Kill Team when it first came out and it had lots of extra expansions and books and bits and pieces. I think back then it wasn't really clear what was expansions, what was optional, and what was core rules, if you like. At least with Warcry, I don't think GW explained it very well, but I know enough myself now to know that this is not it's not must buy. It might be personally, you might say, oh, this is a must buy for me, but you don't need it to play the game. It doesn't change the rules of the game. If you don't buy the Alliance books and your friends do, they've maybe got some advantages of being able to kind of bring different models to the table, but you're both still kind of fixed at your 1,000 points. You're still playing a 1,000-point game. So it doesn't completely unbalance the game if you choose not to buy a book and your opponent does. And the other stuff really from Tome of Champions and the Alliance books are more just extra missions, extra things to play through. If one of you buys it and wants to play through those missions, the other person can quite happily play them as well. So they're definitely just optional stuff. Don't feel that you have to have these books. And that's why I'm not really giving GW a hard time for it. I think it's madness that there's 9 books available for a game where you only have sort of 10, 15 models. I liken it to things like Necromunda, where there's books available all over the place, and I don't think it's clear with Necromunda what rules are in what books and what books you need to play. I would like to think that GW make this a bit more clear for new players, that you don't need everything. I'm sure they won't, but you don't. If you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I've just bought Catacombs, I haven't got a clue what's happening, I'm like, have I got to get all these books? You definitely do not have to buy all these books. They're optional. Buy them if you like the idea of them. Get them for Christmas presents. Buy them if you've got a Chaos Warband and you want to buy the Chaos Battle, the Alliance book. But do not feel that you have to have them. John Cleves says, I've got 1 or 2 armies from each alliance, so I feel compelled to get them all for the extra units, even though I already have the cards. Probably worth it though. It depends how much you play it, mate. I've got warbands for each of the 4 different alliances as well, but well, like I said, I'm not playing games at the minute, which is obviously probably a contributing factor. If I was playing lots of games, I might feel differently at the minute, but it's something I'll probably pick up down the line. I've been burned in the past with buying everything at once, not really using it, and then it being superseded down the line. It happened to me when I tried to get into 40k with 8th edition, and I bought all of the different indexes. I never even used them. So for these, I'll pick them up when I feel like it. And I think by that point, I'll have seen everybody's reviews. I'll have seen them all kind of shared online, and I can pick and choose, like, are there any particular models that I really like, that I like to play in Warcry? Are they available in the books? And that might drift me into 1 or 2 different books, but certainly short term, probably just the Tome of Champions for me. Rob saying he's a bit late, but he's doing a bit of Christmas shopping. Nice to see you, Rob. Just Kev says he's amazed how much GW continues to sell when almost no games are getting played. You'd have thought that would have been a drop, but no, they literally print their own money. Do you know what it is, mate? I think that people in general, I think they're clamouring for new stuff, especially Warcry players. There's been next to nothing apart from Catacombs. There's been nothing else this year. I think people are really looking forward to some new stuff. I think people like the idea of buying the books to build a list and maybe paint their models up to get them ready for when they can play games. And then I think you also get the kind of the GW hype and everybody getting excited about stuff. It's personally making me hold off. If I'm not going to get to play it immediately, I'm kind of holding off on it. But yeah, I think people just want something new. It's Christmas time. It's a mix of things. I think that, but yeah, GW weekly releases. It doesn't slow up, does it? Marcus is saying, if that's true that the Flesh Eater courts can field every unit they have for normal AOS in Warcry, I guess it pays not to have too many units for my army. I'll have to check me. I can't remember which ones they can field, but I'm pretty sure the list was decent. I'm going to have to try and pronounce this now. Refi Kuldrol, I hope I've pronounced that right. It says, are all 4 gods in the Chaos book or just Chaos humans? Everything's in there. So basically, you'll have the what they call again, blood reavers and stuff like that are in there, which are the normal chaos stuff, the corn stuff. You definitely have what else is in there? The Nurgle stuff is in there. There's Nurgle Rotbringers and stuff in there. Is there any Slanesh stuff? I'm trying to remember, but essentially, like, if it's available as a warband in AOS, there is an equivalent warband for Warcry. Krabby says, so why is the amount of books bad? It's just the fact that having 9 different books, mate, for a small scale skirmish game, where I just think it's a lot of stuff. Like, if you're turning up to kind of games nights and stuff like that, that's, as an example, there's no reason why the information that's in Tome of Champions, or there's no reason why actually all of the 4 Alliance books couldn't have all been one book and just sell them to everybody. Like, it's going to be padded out with a lot of other stuff. I just think that by the time you've got a core book, you've got a Monsters and Mercenaries book, you've got Tome of Champions 2019, you've got Catacombs books. Like, if you're going to play a Catacombs mission, you're going to have a core book, you're going to have a Catacombs book, you might have the new 2020 book, which has got some Catacombs missions in it. You might then have an Alliance book each for different players. It just, like, I like the cards because the cards are dead easy to put on the table and just have all the information there. But if you're constantly flicking between different books to pick up a rule for this or a stat for that, it just gets messy, personally. That's all it is. Daniel saying, a quick hello. I'm now going back to work. We'll listen to this later. We'll leave a like for Andy. Thank you, mate. Glenn says, I know we're talking Warcry, but what are your thoughts on Diachasm? So, mate, to be honest, I picked up Beastgrave and I hardly played it, mate. I like the idea of it. I'm not a fan of the deck building kind of side of things. It's not really for me. Diachasm is going to be £50 if you're interested in that one. The deck box is going to be £8. What else we got? The counter set £12. I think that's everything for that one. I think there's also a novel coming out as well, which I think is, whereabouts was that one? I think there's a Diachasm book as well. Hardback book, which is £18. So there's a novel coming for it as well. It's a good game. It's not really my kind of game. For me, it's a card game that happens to have models. There are other hex-based sort of battle games that I much prefer, like God Tier and like Super Fantasy Brawl and Aristea, to be fair. There's other games that I prefer in a very similar genre. Jasper says, no, I didn't convert. That's based on the current prices from GW compared. Thank you very much, mate. I wasn't sure. Palmsy saying, pure clickbait. I honestly it's my personal opinion, mate. It's not clickbait. I just think by the time you get to 9 books for that game, like if you take the only other kind of skirmish level game, I think, where you've got that, like a kind of high number of books is probably Malifaux. And that's because they've got like a faction book for each of the different things. But those books are definitely optional. Malifaux gives you the cards to download online and print off yourself. Most other games at that similar kind of style of small war bands, skirmish level, small play times, things like Code 1 from Infinity, 1 book, that's it. You've got things like Vanguard from Mantic. He had the original core book. There's been an updated book after that as well, which had some kind of stat adjustments and stuff in it. But there's only the 2 books for that. If we go into things like, I'm trying to think now off the top of my head, most games tend to have maybe 1 book and maybe an expansion. I just think that it's a GW model thing, basically, where they release lots of books. and they're beautifully made. They got loads of brilliant artwork in them. They tend to have a bit of narrative stuff in there as well, which is really nice. But I just think by like 9 books in the space of what's that? It's not even 18 months yet. I just think that's quite a lot. That's all. Scroll back there and have a look. Lou B says the order book is the only way to get Fireslayer cards unless we can find the White Dwarf edition that published them. Yes, it is. That there was no cards ever released for them, so the Fireslayers will be in the order book. I'm sure if you look online, you'll be able to kind of see them. People will have taken pictures and stuff like that. But yeah, essentially, the only official way to get them will be in this book, or to find the old White Dwarf, the White Dwarf one. Look, Aquasime says I'm new to Warcry and I've no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, essentially. That's one of the issues. I think by the time you get to this, if you're looking at this as a brand new player coming in and you see there are 9 different books, I think that's quite confusing to a new player. I would like to have seen it kind of structured a little bit differently. Clint says I thought there would be new rules for some factions, additional heroes, for example. There is additional heroes. There's more leaders that have come in. There's some extra models that you can field, but there's no rebalancing of stuff as far as I can tell. There is. I don't think there's any new rules for factions. I think there's just essentially alliance abilities or warband abilities, leader abilities, and then all of the models that you can take to make your 1,000-point list. Christian sharing a link there for the Goblin Gaming link. Thank you very much, mate. Undead King says Necromunda's getting a lot cleaned up now with house books. You don't need to carry loads of books around. Yeah, I agree with that, mate. And one of the reasons they've done that is because it was getting confusing. There was books all over. There was rules scattered about all over the place. And it's that potentially could be a problem down the line for Warcry, because I can't see it stopping here, if you like. That's my grumble. I mean, at the end of the day, they're optional stuff. I'm not really worried about it. But I just think for anybody sort of just coming into Warcry, that's quite confusing. And this is the kind of game that really does bring sort of entry-level people in, if you like entry-level into wargaming, if you like. It's a super simple rule set. It's pick up a box and play a game kind of thing. You've got everything you need to play. You then get faced with all of the different books. I think that can be confusing. Lord Technopan says, I have too many Necromunda books and more coming tomorrow, as well as Warcry. Catacombs, I succumbed. Nice, mate. Eon910 says, I pick up the Agents of Chaos book if they add more fighter options. Agents of Chaos, yeah, if they've add more fighter options. I have a Khorne army and would like to run a Skull Crusher or a Slaughter Priest as a leader. I'm trying to remember, mate, I've got a feeling I've seen a Slaughter Priest in there. But yeah, they're definitely adding more fighter options. That's part of what they're doing. Clint Dawson says, I feel like GW had no plan for what rules would be in Tome of Champions, Monsters and Mercenaries, and the Allegiance books or Alliance books. It does feel like they're scattered all over the place. And I think if they'd been staggered out over time, so if the Alliance books came in the summer, for example, I could almost say that it's like a progression. It's like a step on each time, but everything kind of being dumped in one go at the minute. I don't know whether that was always the plan, or whether it wasn't. I mean, if we think about it, it's hard to tell because everything else will have been, all of their releases will be all over the place. Like Gargants have only just come out now, so does that mean like have they held these books back until other things have been released, if you like, because of the restrictions on them releasing stuff? Arnold says, good night all. Andy, thanks for your input. Great to hear your thoughts. Thank you, Arnold, and thank you for your donation as well. Carrie says, we need more Space Marines. The Rangers going a bit stale. What, Space Marines in Warcry, mate? Al says, good evening, Al Cluley, by the way. GW sales helps by people not being out on the lash, etc. So a bit of extra money and using the money on hobby stuff to stay sane. I get that buying models and stuff, mate, and there's things to paint, but they've certainly been shifting sort of like codexes and stuff and that as well at the minute, haven't they? And it's interesting because they're certainly not seeing the amount of games getting played that they normally see that lets them kind of tweak the points and tweak the meta and stuff like that as well. Greg saying the bad part is they sold us Warcry based off these cool Chaos gangs, then moved on to AOS stuff. Give the original people who supported it new books for Unmade and Iron Golems. I kind of agree with you. Like I was a big fan of Warcry being its own thing. I was a fan of Warcry being what Necromunda is to 40k and having its own specific war bands. I was a big fan of that. But by the same stretch, I can't complain that Warcry opening up to AOS factions means there's more choice. More choice means more players means more games. So whilst it's not what I wanted it to be, it didn't diminish the game for me. But I did hope in the early days that it was going to be its own thing, like Necromunda with its own factions. So I do agree. I do understand what you're saying. ASDF says 1 book per model, please. That would get busy on the tabletop. Yeah, definitely. DRC saying that the book, I was told, will have cards for different builds, spears, etc. Ranges will change. That's not true, mate. That's not true. There are some models that have, like, as they do now, where you can take, like, you can build the model 2 different ways if you like. You can build it with a ranged weapon, or you can build it with like a sword or something. But that's already in Warcry now. But that doesn't look like it's changing at all in this new one. There's no difference in Warcry really between ranged weapons and close combat weapons. Only your like what's it called? Like your range of your weapon, if you like. Some weapons can reach 2 inches, or some weapons have a missile shooting weapon, or a gun or a crossbow or something like that. But it doesn't distinguish really in the game between ranged and melee weapons. So yeah, from the leak stuff that I've already seen, mate, it's not getting down into the intricacies like 40k, how you can pick and choose the weapons. It's not going that way, mate. Certainly not what I've seen. Clint says 100% about Alliance books should have been one big tome. Yeah, I mean they look pretty thick. Judging by, well, actually, I say that they look pretty thick. I think they use a standard book on the GW site, because I thought that the way the Catacombs book looked on the GW site, it was going to be the same thickness as the core book, and that is certainly, as you can see there, certainly is not the case. The fact that they're charging different prices for them, there's obviously more models in the Order faction, there's more models in the what's the other one? The Chaos faction, because you've got all of the Warcry warbands as well in there. It'll be interesting to see what's in them. I really hope they're worth the money, and I hope it's not just padded out with loads and loads of really nice, admittedly, really nice artwork. I think I'd rather have paid like £45-50 for one book with everything in it than I would have done to buy individual books. That's me personally, but I would have just like to have had everything in one place. I must have just skipped off the top of my screen there. Let me scroll up a little bit. I'm back in the right place now. Lord Technopan says, CGW see a lot of YouTubers and presume all their normal customers also have a similar number of IKEA cabinets to fill with boxes and books. I think they basically want you to buy their stuff and nobody else's. That's their mission. That's what they want to do, mate. DLC says they're coming out with 4 more after this release. 4 more. 4 more warbands are we talking about, mate? Or 4 more something else? Marty and I like using some of the Beastgrave figures for my normal army just so they look a little cooler. Yeah, it's nice to mix stuff in them, mate. Yeah, definitely. And Clinton, I like a GW does skirmish games simply for the alternate sculpts. I think they just basically they sell models, mate. And if they can attach it onto a game, then that's how they'll sell them, basically. Palmsy saying GW like to do things in a luxurious fashion. I guess there's 2 sides to it about having the 4 different books. One is you could say, well, I only play Order. Why am I paying for all the stuff I don't need? I get that. But by the same stretch, it would have just been nice to have everything in one place. But we know they don't do that. That's not how codexes work and all that kind of stuff. Marcus says, we're doing that one. Old October says, how many warbands are there? I counted earlier and came up with 38, but the article today says 39. I'm not sure, mate. I think they potentially might be splitting some of them into like two. So there's, for example, I think there's like 3 different Stormcast factions within Warcry. It might be stuff like that, mate. Robbie Lowry says, great content, mate. Just picked up a starter box this weekend. Found an old copy at a small store. Brilliant, mate. It's like finding gold, isn't it, when that happens, mate? Congrats on that one. Busy says they should give you a free exclusive model with each book. Then you definitely need all the books. Well, they are starting to do the free model every month now, aren't they? If you go and buy in store, so I guess you could buy a one each month and get the free models. Tony says that's how I see Necromunda 2. Same problem. I wouldn't have a clue which books, but as an entry level newbie, yeah, that's kind of like what I mean, mate. It's just I'd rather it was like structured so that it was really obvious what you need and what you don't need, because it could put people off the game thinking, oh my god, like it's £35 for a warband, but then there's loads and loads of books and I don't even know where to start. I just wish it was more obvious. Crabby says, I quite like the lizard dudes. Are they relevant nowadays? The skinks. Yeah, skinks are called, what's their names again? They're not called skinks anymore. They're called Seraphon now. Yeah, they've not had any particularly new releases for quite some time, so they're relatively old models made. But yeah, they're still relevant. They're still around in AOS and stuff. Robbie says, thanks, excited to jump in. I nearly got all the terrain built and base coated. Great looking stuff. Nice one, mate. I really like building the Warcry terrain. It's like it makes the games look really nice. Even the Catacombs stuff, I really enjoyed painting up the Catacombs terrain as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy playing Warcry so much as well, is because every time I play, it's always played on a really nice board full of nice terrain. Clint says, I love lizard dudes, they're tons of fun. Yeah, Undead King saying, depending on which gang you pick up, you really only need 2 books. Yeah, I just think it's not obvious, mate. And I think when you, like, I've seen people saying, so if I want to do this, which book do I need to do that? And originally, back in the day, with Necromunda, not like with when Necromunda re-released recently, the rules were split across different books as well. The same thing happened with Blood Bowl, to be fair. When Blood Bowl released in 2016, some of the Blood Bowl stuff was split across different books. Aquasime says, is playing solo fun? It's not necessarily about it being fun. It's more about it's either solo or not at all at the moment. So for me personally, I live in a country, and I live in an area of a country where we cannot have people visit our homes that don't live in our like with it. I can only play games with the people that live in my house essentially. And bearing in mind that my wife's not really a miniature gamer and my son is 4 years old, I don't get to play any games. Gaming stores are not allowed to open and have gaming with people from different households. So we're in a current situation at the moment where I'm not getting games in. Would I choose to play solo over playing against like a friend or an opponent? Not at all. I'd play against somebody else every single time. Would I choose playing solo over not playing at all? Yes, the longer this goes on, the more I'm craving kind of playing games. And actually, if it means I get to play a game every now and again solo, I'd rather do that. Some people prefer playing solo. They just enjoy like the idea of playing solo games. Scott saying, that's why I have 2 3D printers, so I can just print off the miniatures and terrain I really want. Glenn says, what new direction do you see Warcry going in next year? I'm not sure, mate, if I'm perfectly honest. I think we're just going to see, obviously anything that happens for AOS we'll see filtering down into Warcry. It wouldn't surprise me if we start to see, so you know in Warcry how there are terrain pieces for factions which have rules. So there's things like the big obelisk, I should say, for Ossiarch Bone Reapers. There's the big Maw Pot for Maw Crushers, for the Ogres. It wouldn't surprise me if we see some of that stuff coming across into Warcry next year to get folks buying more kind of sort of terrain pieces and stuff. I can't see that they're not really going to add much more in the way of factions. I mean, they've had a big overhaul to get more models from AOS into Warcry now. with these alliance books, so I can't see them really doing much with that. If we see any new factions, we'll probably see some new stuff coming in. But let's be honest, like 39 factions now, pretty widely covered with models that you'd expect to see in Warcry. We might see more expansion type stuff like Catacombs. You know, we might see like special boards with a book that has special rules for fighting on sky platforms or something like that, or whatever it is. But it does feel like it's pretty well fleshed out now, and it's going to be interesting to see how they manage it. If you compare it to Kill Team's had pretty much nothing for quite some time. That might be the case with Warcry now for another 12 months until we see the Tomb of Champions 2021. So it's going to be interesting, but I think we'll see it piggybacking more and more on AOS, I think. Christian sharing the Amazon links. Thank you very much, mate. John Cleve said it's quite good they're not changing stats because the cards will still be valid. Yeah, that's certain. I mean, I can't 100% guarantee that, but certainly from what I've seen from the leaked stuff, there were no stat changes. Andrew Fairbanks saying, kind of got interest in playing Necromunda lately. Now, can I take these rules and make fantasy Necromunda? I don't see why not, mate. I don't see why not. Lord Technopan says, it's a paradox. I resent the cost, but I resent the cost, but I buy the stuff. Love the books and enjoy the games and minis. I think I just get a 2022 one for Warcry and forget I ever saw the other four. It's kind of weird, mate. It's one of those things where you kind of have to assess it. Are you getting value for money personally for the things that you're buying? So are you buying models and books and then just putting on the shelf and never touching them? Are you enjoying reading the books? Do you enjoy just kind of actually spending some chill time and switching your brain off and just sitting reading through rule books? Because it doesn't really matter what you do with them. Like, do you just enjoy building models and then you never paint them, and that's fine as well? You've got some enjoyment from it. As long as you're doing something with the stuff, it's money well spent in that respect. But if you buy things and then never touch them and never play a game with them and never clip stuff off sprues and never open a box and never open a book, then that's the point where you can start saying, hang on a second, I'm just getting caught up in the hype here and just buying stuff. Busey says, well, where's the Catacombs terrain painting videos? Didn't really need them, mate. I just pretty much dry brushed everything. It was pretty simple, mate. Richard Smith says, sorry if I missed it, Andy, but did you mention how much the Shadow Stalkers were? Just asking Santa for a box. They are £32.50 in the UK, mate. And if I remember right, from a European point of view, they are €42.50. Undead King says, yeah, it's not hugely clear. You really need someone who plays already to sort of guide you what you need. And that's fine if you're going to a local gaming store or you're getting in with friends or you're going to a GW store, something like that. But if you're just buying stuff online, you will be presented. If you click on the GW website and you click on sort of books or whatever, you'll be presented with pretty much all of those books. Iron saying, man, I forget how free the Midwest is. Yes. Lord Maiden, I have a chat there. Rui saying, Andy, what terrain should I buy to complete the above ground terrain for the Catacombs to be close enough to the terrain from the first starter set? So there's a couple of sets, mate. Let me see if I can find them for you. There are a couple of sets that I think would be helpful. If you can get your hands on any of the old, what were they called, the Partwork stuff, I forget what they're called, the Mortal Realms books. If you can get your hands on any of those, they will certainly help. I'm just trying to find the stuff for you now, mate. If I go to scenery, all scenery. Right, if I flick across to this screen, if you go to the Games Workshop site, I'm not suggesting you buy them from here. Obviously, you get some discounts by your local store and stuff. But this will tell you. You can pick up. There's a set here which is called Dominion of Sigmar, which gets you this kind of statue stuff. Oh, sorry, that's in a different set. Ignore me. It is. You can get this one, which is Azerite Townscape. This one is kind of a copy of some of the stuff that's in the original box. And if I can remember the other ones as well. you can get this one, which is the Azurite Ruined Chapel, which has the bell tower and some other bits of scatter and stuff. I think, if I remember right, the only thing you can't buy, like even the Shattered Plaza stuff, is very similar to some of the stuff as well. So you can buy bits of those as well. I think the only thing that they don't sell is the head, basically, with that ladders on. And I think that might have been in the Mortal Realms books. But when I was talking about how I think Warcry will go, these are the kind of models that I think we could potentially see coming in. So these are terrain pieces for AOS. We could potentially see in these things, I think, coming in the future, to give us like special rules for those terrain pieces as well. This was the other one I was talking about. Things like the shipwreck, and things like, where was it? There's these Herdstones, the Nullmaw. You've got these battle forges for the dwarves. You've also got like this Bone Tithe Nexus for Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So yeah, these are the kind of things that I would imagine that we might see coming into the game in the future. Undead King saying solo games. I done a Necromunda mini campaign today just to tide me over. It's odd, but it was good fun. Yeah, it's certainly better than not playing at all, mate, isn't it? Greg Cherry says, crap, my phone reported this video while it was in my pocket riding my bike. It's still going, mate. It happens. Foible says, do you think we'll ever see a wider rebalancing of the war bands? I'm not so sure. The only way I think we'd see it, and it's going to be a bit of a nightmare, really, to be fair, will be if they reprint these new 4 Alliance books like next year or the year after with a rebalancing. I don't think they ever really plan this game to be finely tuned. So personally, for me, do I think it needs it? There's maybe the odd model, but in general, I just play for fun. If there's a particular model that is so overpowered, me and my friends just wouldn't use that one, to be fair. Or we'd house rule it or tweak it down or something. But I think when you start getting into match play and maybe taking it a bit more serious, maybe then it's a bit of a problem. Certainly when I went to the match play tournament at Games Workshop, the people that went there were much more relaxed, much more chilled, and much more casual about it, really. So yeah, I'm not 100%. I don't think there'll be any plans to do it soon. Certainly not with the releases of these books. Eon 910 saying, I can see you add new Warcry exclusive warbands and new fighters for existing warbands, kind of like the add-on units for Necromunda. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we see more of the the official kind of Warcry warbands, if you like, things like the Khainite Shadow Stalkers and stuff. I think we might see more stuff like that, but there are already a lot of warbands in the game, but I guess it's another way to keep people buying stuff. And if it means that they can flesh out maybe AOS factions by bringing out more models that way, who knows? It might be win-win that way. Undead Kings having a chat about solo games there. Scott says, so if I was to jump into Warcry, what would I need to purchase? If you were playing just with another friend who's never played before, mate, if you can get your hands on the original starter box, that is the perfect place to start. If not, and you don't want to buy the Catacomb set, you will need the core rulebook. You'll need 2 warbands. If you buy the official warbands, they'll have the cards in the box. If you've just got some models you've printed or you've got some stuff that you just want to use yourself, obviously you can look online and I'm sure you'll find the bits and pieces, but you will then the best place to buy will be one of these Alliance books. So the core rule book and an Alliance book. Other than that, mate, a board, a bit of terrain, that's kind of it, mate, really. You don't really need much else. Dice, which you'll already have. It's pretty much it, mate. James Brace is my first foray into the hobby 18 months ago was to be kill team, as I liked the small team idea. The guy in the GW saw said I needed the 3 books to get started and then get some models, and bad pitch put me right off. that's kind of where I got burnt out with Kill Team. It wasn't clear, and certainly from the people I was asking, it wasn't clear what I needed to play. And what was happening was, because there was extra rules in things like elites and commanders, people were playing different versions of the game, where within Warcry, that's not really a thing. Like, matched play is just matched play, and there's different missions, there's different scenarios, there's different terrain layouts, but the core rules are the core rules. The only difference would be if somebody said, I want to play a Catacombs game, I want to use the Catacombs rules. It's more of an expansion as opposed to kind of a change to the game. Aquasime says, is Catacombs set fun on its own, or is it lacking in some way? If so, what should we add? I've not played it yet. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm as I said before, I'm not getting the chance to play games at the minute. I've read the rule book. I like the additions in the rules. That they bring something a little bit more fun. I can't really speak from experience of actually playing the game. That's the only thing at the moment. But I don't. It's not lacking in any way. It has everything in the core stuff, in the core set, if you like. It could probably do with a little bit more terrain or something. But from a rules perspective, it has the core rule book in the box and then has some extra stuff if you want to play it. So if you can get the core set is still the best bet from a value for money point of view. If you can't, I still think Catacombs is worth the money. And Aquasime saying, what should we add? If you're not a fan of the Catacombs extra rules, you can flip the board over. It has some terrain in there for fighting on overground. You could maybe add a little bit more terrain into it. That's the only thing I would say that it needs a little bit more of. Marco says, just finished work. What did I miss? Yeah, I ain't even going there. James says, the Tome of Champions had campaign missions that used the AOS objective set, so I can see the bigger terrain bits being used. That's right, mate, they did. And then obviously Catacombs as well had its... if I can just get... Then Catacombs has obviously got these kind of... if I can get that there. These kind of terrain pieces as well. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if those kind of things come through. Foible Games says Mortal Realms issues 26, 30, 36 of the Warcry ones. Yes, mate, I knew that. I didn't know the numbers. I thought I remembered them being in there. CXG says, can anyone help? I'm painting up all my all-out war vehicles while watching. Got some miniature leaves that I want to attach. What's the best way to do so? I would just use a little bit of thin down PVA, mate. A little bit of thin down PVA will do it. I would use PVA. Foible says Azerite Townscape is from a Warcry terrain expansion. Yeah, that's right, mate. I've got that one as well. It's from the Shattered Dominion, I think it's called. Michael Forsander, hello. He says you only need to buy Azerite Shattered Plaza in order to get all terrain from the original starter with Catacombs, except the statue head. Oh, that's right. The Catacombs has the bell tower thing in, doesn't it, as well? Lord Tetrapan says, I like a house rule rather than a rebalance, especially the one that states I don't have to operate the kettle on days when I'm wagging them. Nice one, mate. Krabby giving some advice there as well. Scott Latham says, I wish Kill Team was more like Warcry. Red Rose Wargaming did an epic crossover. They did do an epic crossover. I do know what you mean. If 40k, if Kill Team used Warcry rules, I'd probably play that more than Warcry, because sci-fi is more my kind of thing. But I prefer Warcry's rules much, much more. I think the problem is the people that love Kill Team love Kill Team. So I'm not sure that they would necessarily like the, I don't want to say dumbing down, but the winding down of the rules a little bit. Where are we up to? Yeah. Yeah, CXG's saying if you're in the UK, check out Forbidden Planet. They sell the Mortal Realms mags. Yes, they do, mate. They tend to have a load of them kind of left over, don't they? Mark says, I want to see new Wood Elf models to make a new warband. Total War Warhammer just came out with them, and I would like to see them in Warcry. I think as we see stuff being added to AOS, we'll see those things kind of being added into to Warcry as well. Undead King says they're redoing Kill Team. It was on one of the shows. I'm not sure if they're redoing it, mate. I saw that trailer as well. They're doing something with it, but I'm not sure it's necessarily like a complete redo. It could be a complete rebalance of points. It could be just a Kill Team 2.0. But they're certainly doing a bit of a relaunch, if you like. But we haven't got any information about what they're actually going to do to it. Scott says, can I use Vikings in Warcry? The Warcry miniatures 32mm. Yeah, they're standard AOS minis, mate. So if you've got things like Stormcast or anything like that to reference against, they're the same kind of scale. As long like sort of 20, I think they're 25, 28, 32mm bases. There's the odd 40mm base, I think. Height doesn't really matter, really. Line of sight is irrelevant for height. Let's have a look. People having a bit of a chat backwards and forwards. Ryan Stilt says, really excited to see what the changes to traits and points with the books. Leader changes is a huge game changer. Yeah, as I said before, mate, I don't know whether they've just come in. I don't think there is any changes to points. I've seen some of the stuff that's been leaked from the Alliance books, and I went through all of the warbands that I saw and checked them against current points, and there were no points changes. There were no stat changes. So I don't think there's any. I don't think, from what I've seen, there are any points or stat changes. Scott's saying, I agree, Andy. I prefer the sci-fi too, but to be honest, really enjoying the whole world of Warcry. I've bought the Warcry Catacombs novel. I bought the original Warcry anthology book as well, and I am actually really enjoying the kind of like the world and the universe of it. It was one of the reasons why I kind of wanted Warcry to stay its own thing and not get sucked into the AOS universe, if you like, from a crossover point of view, in the way that Necromunda is separate from 40k, but within that world. But I think let's, as an example, if they literally just cut and pasted them and made them 40k rules, I think I'd probably jump ship. Undead King says it'll probably be to bring it up to 9th edition, so it's all the same. Yeah, I think a lot of the stats were similar, weren't they, between 8th edition and Kill Team. So I think it's probably getting a bit of a 9th edition redo, if you like. Bring all those new models from Necrons and stuff across into it. Scott says, those books are on my list to buy. Really enjoy reading the lore and the background. Yeah, I must admit, I reading the original Warcry anthology really did kind of sort of sink me into the Warcry world. I'd never really read any of the AOS stuff. I'd been told it had improved over time from when it was first launched, if you like, up until where it is now, and that some of the stories actually were really, really good. It's not got 20 years of Warhammer kind of old world experience, but I kind of like the fact that the Warcry books didn't talk about them big battles. It was almost the kind of the little sort of, so I was going to say kill teams, but the little kind of secret war bands going off on their own. Dom saying, I need to run. Catch you in the rest tomorrow. Have a good night. See you later, Dominic. Thanks, mate. Lord Technopan says, I've always steered towards space and sci-fi, but Warcry was just so appealing, and it's good as it looked. Yeah, I'm definitely a sci-fi gamer. I'm not really into fantasy stuff in general. I'm not like a fan of Lord of the Rings type stuff and like that. Star Wars has always been my kind of universe type stuff. So yeah, I wanted to love Kill Team much more than I did. I loved the idea of being able to just pick and choose small armies, if you like, of the ranges that I liked. But it didn't pan out that way for me personally. Rui saying, with Combat Patrol for 40k, what will GW do with Kill Team? That's kind of where I think it's going to be interesting, because Combat Patrol, 500 points, it's not a lot more models than a Kill Team game, and it's played on a slightly bigger table size than Kill Team, like twice the size as Kill Team. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting. Where are we up to here? See, having a bit of a chat. Clint Dawson says, can you give a shout out to the channels that will be going over the books when they go up for pre-order? The one I would shout out, mate, will be Gorilla Miniature Games. He always gets the stuff early. And what I tend to find is a lot of the channels that get Warcry stuff early don't play Warcry. So they just go, here's a book, this is what's in it, that kind of stuff. I saw that a lot with the Catacomb set. A lot of channels just went, they took the lid off, they pulled everything out, they said, this is what's in it. One channel, I forget which one it was, but they at least tried to play it, but they admitted themselves they'd never played it before, they didn't really interest them. because they're all kind of 40k channels, if you like. Guerrilla Miniature Games with Ash Barker, at least he always paints up all of the terrain, he plays the games, he's played a lot of Warcry. He will give a bit more of an insight into what's in the books. He is who I would recommend. There are other channels I think do amazing Warcry content. Red Rose Wargaming, who we were in the chat earlier on, is certainly one of them. But unfortunately, Games Workshop don't send them the stuff early, so they won't get the share it early. But yeah, if you're wanting stuff next weekend, check out Guerrilla Miniature Games. Brad says, looking at more Rangers of Shadow Deep for solo player as getting out to play right now is not likely in the States for months. Pretty much the same here, mate, to be fair. Yeah, CXG is saying Guerrilla Miniature Games will probably go through the books, and Doug from 2+ Tough for the Law. Yeah, Doug sometimes gets some stuff as well from them. I'm not sure if he's definitely getting kind of gaming stuff at the minute. I don't remember him getting Catacombs. But yeah, he certainly does a lot of Warcry talk as well. Lord Technopan says, I do have Kill Team, the OG box. Yeah, me too, mate. So I'm interested to see where they'll go with it. It's a third place to Warcry and Necromunda for me, but I would like to have hope. Yeah. Scott Latham says, Ash is epic, like he's on speed and so passionate. Yes, he's definitely got speed anyway, that's for sure. Brad says, Ash has great passion, but is a little soft on rules, at least for the games I know well. He's not like a massive competitive player. He's not going to kind of break down and tell you the most optimal ways to play the game. But to be fair, I don't think Warcry is one of those games. It's not like a 40k. It's not an AOS. It's not built around being a massively competitive game. So for me, that's not really what I'm looking for in that kind of stuff. And of course, there are some new stuff in these books as well. So he won't have played them yet to kind of talk through them. So yeah, so that's all that stuff. Tony saying to Scott, Ash is way too quick for me, really. I find myself rewinding a lot. I tend to agree as well, mate. I must admit, he does. I thought I spoke quickly, but Ash definitely sometimes gets overexcited. And like, I tried to watch the Harry Potter game that he was doing to see what it was about, and I must admit, I completely lost track of what was going on because he was particularly quick. CXG says, yeah, Doug has a nightmare when receiving stuff from GW, so he usually covers things later. Yeah, I think what tends to happen as well is the folks that do get stuff early, they don't get it massively early. They might only get it a day or two before they're kind of given the green light to release it. So they don't really have a lot of time to build and paint things, which is why you get a lot of just unboxing stuff. And those channels a lot of those channels randomly, like the 40k channels who get Warcry stuff, don't really have an interest in it. It's not their guy's fault. Just GW have chose to send it to them. Rui saying that Age of Sigmar miniatures are perfect for Rangers of Shadow Deep. Just set the game in the mortal realms. It's nice to be able to do that, mate. Yeah, Rangers of Shadow Deep. I've seen a few sort of additions for it to set it in the Star Wars universe, for example. Undead King says, fun as solo games are. I can't wait to get out and play again. Don't know why us lot in Newcastle are in tier 3. I didn't know you were in Newcastle, mate. I'm in Newcastle as well. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game, that one, mate. Lord Technopan says, the best thing on Guerrilla Miniatures is the measuring. An inch here and an inch there is never an issue. I got used to his high processing rate eventually. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when you're holding a camera and you're playing the whole game with one hand and you're trying to measure with one hand and roll dice and move minis, you're going to make mistakes. It's definitely a game between friends kind of thing. Scott's over in Whitby there. He's in tier 2. I still think you can't get people to your home or stuff, mate. Can you? I don't know if I still think sort of like gaming in a store face to face is still frowned upon. I think, like rules wise, if you like. Yoakum saying, guess I'll go for Chaos Destruction and Tome of Champions. Mega Gargant just got a purpose. We'll see if it's worth the money though. It might be another option, for another reason for me to get my Mantic Giant out and give that a run out, that's for sure. Marco says, Andy, a BlackJack Legacy branded measuring tool like the one from Ash would be awesome. I did look into that a little while ago, actually, mate. There was a local lad who was going to do some stuff, but I'll have to look into it again at some point. Robert Zung says, just got word his work is shutting down for 2 weeks. It's going to drive his wife crazy. least you get some hobby time, mate. Try and see the silver lining in it. We Roll Dice says a YouTube buddy of mine gets the stuff about 2 weeks before pre-orders come out, but can't release vids until the day pre-orders go live. Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, they all have like an embargo date, but I think what tends to happen is the guys over in the States, I think, obviously get the stuff sent from GW in the UK. So what you tend to find is people like Guerrilla Miniature Games get it like on maybe a Wednesday and a Thursday, and their videos can go up like on a Saturday morning. So they tend not to get a lot of head start. So you'll get someone like Uncle Atom from Tabletop Minions. He'll get sent some stuff as well. But I've seen him like doing his Friday video saying that I only got the stuff kind of like this morning. I think he records it on a Thursday, releases it on a Friday, and he only got the stuff the night before kind of thing. Yeah, Lord Maiden saying not for tier 2. Yeah, so basically 99% of the country are not really playing games at the moment. Ruby saying he's got to go. Great Monday live. Thanks, Andy. You are welcome, mate. Thanks a lot. Scott saying we want BlackJack dice. I tried to get BlackJack dice, mate, and the two companies that I spoke to basically just didn't even get back to me. I sent them images. I filled in all their online forms. So if anybody knows any companies that do really good quality custom dice, please let me know. Because the two I contacted, and they were big names, didn't even reply. Marco said, I like the look of the Warcry dice, but I'm a bit confused from the image. How many do you reckon will be in the box? I think it'll be 18, mate, I assume. Surely it'll be the same as what you get in the core box. So you get like 6 red, 6 black, and 6 beige. I assume it'll be exactly the same as that. They cost £16, mate. So that kind of... Actually, no, now you say it. Let me have a quick look and see if I've still got the ones. Have I still got the picture up here so I can see it? It does look like you get. It does look like you get 4 of one color randomly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like you get 12, 13, 14, 15. It looks like you get 16 dice for £16. Now, I don't know why you'd need 4 dice of the white ones, for example. I suppose I should probably show you what I'm talking about. So these, let me click on one of these, for example. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those green ones. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those mottled ones. And it only shows 4 of the white ones. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't have put the extra 2 in if you get 6 of those as well. That's kind of weird, that, mate. I don't know why that's the case. Interesting, anyway. Interesting. Scott saying, and the dice bag. They have dice bags available, mate. There are dice bags in the online store already. Christian saying, Steve from Tabletop has custom dice made for his patrons. Yeah, I tried them. Cheswick's dice. I've tried. Cheswick's dice are really expensive because they're made over in the States. But I've tried. Who was it? Oh, there's a couple of companies in the UK that I've tried, and to be honest, one of them was the one that Steve contacted. That Jay had told me that where they got theirs from. I'll have to do another chase up at some point. Blizzard's saying, I know Cheswick's used to do custom dice. Yeah, they still do, mate, but I think they're expensive to get them. Lord Maiden says they'll be for the extra die you get a turn, and you can only have 2 max. You can't only have 2 max. Hang on. Most games only go 4 turns, don't they? So you'd only have 4 max because you don't have to spend them. So you could build them up to the 4th turn. I wonder if that's why you've got 4. Yeah. I think originally that maybe they thought there was going to be more games would have 6 turns and stuff. But yeah, it will be the wild dice. Yeah, I'm trying to think that. Yeah, and Christian saying that they're expensive unless you're getting a massive order. Yeah, that's what I found, mate. Yeah. Yeah, why do you think you can keep a maximum of 2? I didn't think that was the case. I think you can just build them up. You don't have to spend them. Christian sharing the link for the merch store. Thank you very much, mate. Christian says, chess is expensive if you do a small order. I'll have to do a bit more looking into it. If there's enough interest for dice, I don't mind putting a bigger order in and doing it that way. But yeah, I might have to do a little bit of a, try and work it out and see how much they are. Because I'm certainly not buying them to the scale that GW do, that's for sure. My throat is starting to dry. The prices aren't bad if you do a large order. At least that was the case a few years ago. The problem is, mate, I think that they're more than like £1 a dice, for example, or you're starting to talk about at least £1 per dice, and then you've got to put like shipping costs on top of them. It starts getting quite expensive. If people are still willing to pay that price, then people are willing to pay that price. But I looked at them originally for Patreons, and when I couldn't get them sorted, that was why I started with the mugs instead. Counterattack Bases was one of the companies that didn't reply to me, mate. That was the name I couldn't remember. It was Counterattack, and who's the other one? I can't remember the name now. They're a gaming store who also do dice, but their site for their dice is separate from their gaming store site. I forget now. Clinton, the original said each player gets colour abilities, red for wild, regular dice for rolling. Tony says, we have our own dice produced for work. I'll check out where we get them done. I'm sure they're not expensive. Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, I'm not looking for anything, but I mean, it would be nice to kind of obviously get my logo on the 6 side or something, but I'm not looking for anything. I would love black dice with red pips on them, but you don't seem to be able to get those. Dice.co.uk, apparently prices for custom dice start at 20p each. I think when I've looked, mate, I think they're generally about £1 a dice, I think. But yeah, I'll do some digging, mate. I'll do some digging. Corvus is saying, got to go to bed, got to go to work early tomorrow. Thanks for the insight on the new Warcry books. It was very helpful for my buy-in decision. Have a good night. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you. Nice one. So, folks, I think I'm going to start to wind that one up now. My throat's just just drying them out a bit now. Mark was saying Blood Angels dice, just repackage them. I need to go proper branded, mate. If I'm going to spend the money on getting them made for people, I've got to go branded, haven't I? I even bought myself a mouse mat. That's how branded I am now. When there was a site had a sale on, so I decided to get myself a mouse mat. I lost mine. I had a little Razer mouse mat that was really handy for just putting in my laptop case, and I lost it. So I got myself one, mate. Lord Technopants, has been a great relaxing evening, and the muted silence only encouraged the chat, mate. Glad I could be live for once as my better half had an early night. You are welcome, mate, and I still haven't replied to your last comment in the video as well, mate. I've got some catching up on comments to do. I had a couple of days chill last week to kind of relax and put my feet up, so I've got some catching up to do on the comments. Clint Dawson says, thanks. You are welcome, mate. Scott Latham says, thanks as well. Christian sharing the link to the Patreon there. Thank you very much. For those of you who are new here or you kind of haven't been for a little while, this is my job. This is what I do full time now, and it's all supported by folks in the community who support me through Patreon, and it means I don't do any paid for kind of sort of sponsored content or anything like that. So everything I say is completely independent from the different gaming companies. So thank you very much, folks. Mark's is saying, you really go back and read the chat when you got it muted. It might be a good laugh. I bet it was, mate. And CXG says, thanks, Andy. Great as always, even with the silence. Thank you very much, and thank you as well to Reroll Dice and Scott. So, folks, I will see you on Wednesday in the Hobby Hangout, and I'll probably see the rest of you in another video later this week as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month, and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.